Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Thought Atlas podcast, the podcast where we explore ideas, systems, and ways of thinking that helps us understand life better. Today, I'm joined by Jim Marshall, a polymathic scholar, an author, and the creator of Septemics. Now, chances are you've never heard the word Septemics before, but that's okay. Jim is going to break down what Septemics means to us and make us understand it deeper. Jim, you're welcome to Thought Atlas. We're glad to have you.
Hi, Blessed.
Okay. So, Jim, before we proceed, can you tell us more about yourself?
Okay. Well, the first thing I should tell you to give context to the discussion is that I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena, which greatly aid in the understanding of people, from which I created a revolutionary practical philosophic system called Septemics and published it in the book Septemics, Hierarchies of Human Phenomena.
That's wonderful, Jim. Jim, most people have never heard of the word Septemics before. What does it mean and what is it all about?
Okay, Septemics is a philosophical science based on the fact that many phenomena related to humans occur in a sequence of 7 levels. Literally, the word septemics means of or pertaining to 7. Septemics comprises a collection of scales or sequences, each of which breaks down various human phenomena into a hierarchy of 7 steps. There are 35 such scales, each of which is unique, and between them they span the spectrum of human experience, by which I mean any problem, dilemma, difficulty, situation that any person has regarding people can successfully be analyzed by one or more of these scales, usually more than one.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So, Jim, why is this system structured around 7 levels? And what does the number 7 represent in human experience and development?
Well, I should tell you that there's a section in my book called Why 7? And I explain why it's 7. It's a mathematical explanation. And by the way, it's on my website.
Oh, okay.
So anybody can go to the website septemics.com and go down to Y7, and I explain the whole thing right there.
Okay, okay.
But the truth is, I discovered this empirically. There's no theory of septemics. I never had any theories about 7 or anything like that. I simply discovered this as a direct result of my work as a human development engineer over a 40-year period, and I wrote down what I saw. And eventually these patterns emerged, and I could see that there was natural law involved in this.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is Septemics more of a map for understanding people, or is it a tool for growth? Or is it the both of them combined?
Both.
Both.
Let me explain the 3 ways in which this is valuable to people or beneficial to people without getting into specifics.
Yes.
Each of these 35 scales provides the reader with an infallible way of determining the salutariness or the beneficialness of any group, individual, or activity. If the group, individual, or activity moves persons up the scale, it's beneficial or positive. If it moves them down, it's detrimental or negative. So I'm giving you a yardstick by which to measure human affairs, which is an entirely new thing. More importantly, when you find out the correct level, whether it's of yourself or another, you necessarily have an insight. You say, oh, I see, my wife is at level 4. That explains why she does X, Y, and Z. That's one of the ways that you know you found the right level. You have a realization as a result of it.
Yes.
So you are already smarter, just finding the level. Then once you know the correct level, you can improve that person, whether it's yourself or another, by moving the person up one level on the scale.
Yeah. Okay.
This is more important than it may seem, because I have solved the gradient problem that has bedeviled mankind for 6,000 years. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We all have problems and dilemmas and difficulties in situations that we can't resolve. And more than 99% of the time, it's because we don't know the gradient. That's why crash diets and crash exercise programs fail. There's no gradient there. All good, successful coaches, facilitators, therapists, teachers know that human development must be done on a gradient. You cannot make a couch potato into an Olympic athlete. There are
No.
too many intervening levels.
Yes.
So I am giving you the gradients for these 35 areas of life. So every one of these scales is a roadmap for success because you figure out what level you're at. Now, I should tell you, every person is at some level on every scale. The question is not whether or not you're on the scale. The question is, what level are you at?
Level.
When you
Yes.
spot the level, you'll have a realization, and then you target yourself for the next level up. So let's say you've realized you're at level 4. You target yourself for level 3 as your self-improvement. The other 5 levels you ignore completely. They're not relevant to this activity. If you are at level 4 and you try to get to level 3, you will get there. You know why? Because it's the next level up.
Why? Yes,
If
actually.
you try to get to level 1 or level 2, you will fail because it's too steep a gradient. So this is very user-friendly. This is very helpful to people in helping them figure out where they are and then telling them how to get up in that area, whether it's yourself or another person. You might be able to help your son or your wife or your boss or your employee with
Yes.
something by helping them spot the area and then moving them up one level. So that's what this is about, and it's very user-friendly.
Yes. So, James, I have a question. This system seems very effective and it seems very useful. Does Septemics apply universally, or does culture, geography, and upbringing influence how people move through these levels?
Septemics
Yes.
applies across all demographic breakdowns. It does not matter race, gender, age, socioeconomic level, intelligence, or political persuasion. None of those things matter because every person is somewhere on every level, on every list. So now there are people for whom this is not going to work, and I'll tell you who they are. If
Yes.
you want to improve yourself or others or both, and you can read English, this book is for you. But that leaves out a lot of people. Most people don't know that there are lots of people who have no interest in improving either themselves or others. This would include psychopaths, sociopaths,
Yes.
professional criminals, corrupt politicians, war criminals, serial murderers, ignoramuses, idiots, all kinds of categories of people who are not up to doing this. Okay? They're not interested.
Yes.
So, for example, if I were to talk to a drug dealer who is a professional criminal, he would not be interested in this book. He would probably say, well, is this going to help me make money faster? I'd say,
Money.
well, I don't know. Go on,
Yeah.
Mars. But about 50% of the human race is interested in improving oneself or others or both. So
Yes.
this is to improve yourself, but also improve your family and your business and your friends and your groups and whatever. And it's not hard to do. This is not obscure. The book is written in such a way that if you can read English reasonably well, you can make this work.
Okay. So, how might one unknowingly practice Septemics in their everyday life?
Okay, so here's the way you do it. You observe either that you or someone you know is having some difficulty, right? That's easy because we all have difficulties.
Yes.
And then you look at the relevant scale. For example, the first scale in the book is the scale of basic purposes. What could possibly be more important than knowing someone's basic purpose? That's what the person is trying to do all the time. Every human being has one of these 7 basic purposes. So when you look at it, you know who you are. Once you study the materials, you'll say, oh, I see. I'm at level 3. And you will have a concatenation of realizations. That explains this and this. This could go on for days. And that explains why I couldn't get along with Joe 8 years ago. So, so you have a lot of insight coming from this. But you could also look at it in terms of, well, I'm having trouble with my business. So what seems to be the problem here? Let me look at the scale of management. That's relevant to business.
Yes.
That scale will blow your mind. I guarantee it. Because there's stuff in there that 99% of the people never thought before at all about what a group is, how to run it, how to advance it, and in what sequence. So you could say, oh, I see. I'm missing level 6. No wonder I'm having trouble. See? So you put in a level 6, and now you have a functioning management scheme. So, or if you have a friend, let's say you have a friend, Joe. Every time you talk to Joe, he says to you, Blessed, my wife is driving me nuts. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think we're going to wind up getting a divorce. You say, after a while, you get tired of listening to this, and you say, Joe, look at this. You open the book to the scale of relationships, and you put it in front of his face because he can read English.
Yes.
And he looks and says, he's going to say, you mean there's a scale of relationships? You say, yeah. This relationship that you've been complaining to me about for 6 months, where is it on this scale? Guaranteed he's going to want to know that because he's having trouble and you're helping him.
Yes.
So he's going to look at it in a matter of seconds, and I mean like 20, 25 seconds. He'll say something like, I can see right off the bat that we're definitely not at level 1, 2, or 3, because that's the top of the scale, and we're having a lot of trouble. It's got to be lower. So he got it down to 4 levels.
Yes.
Then you say, well, go ahead and read the text, and you can get it exactly. He's going to want to do that because he's already sort of unraveling this mess a little bit. So he reads it, he knows the situation, and he's going to say, oh, I can see. No wonder we're having trouble. This is level 5. That's near the bottom of the scale. That explains a lot. That explains why when I say A, B, and C, she does D, E, and F. See, so he's already figuring this out. And he might say, I want to take this to Gertrude and show this and see if we can get our relationship straightened out. And you say, that's great, but before you do that, let me show you this. And you open it to the scale of sexuality. Well, that's relevant, isn't it? It's his wife.
Yes.
So he looks at the scale of sexuality and he's going to say, you mean there's a scale of sexuality? You say, yeah. You don't have to tell me if you don't want, but for your own illumination, where are you on the scale? Guaranteed he's going to want to know that. And he will study it, and he will, in a matter of seconds, if he discloses it to you, he'll say, well, I can see that level 6 and 7 have nothing to do with me, so I definitely cannot be with those levels. So, so you got it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So well, go ahead and read it, and then you get it exactly. So he reads it, he comes back and says, well, I can see I'm at level 4. That explains why A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. And you see, then he might also say, and I can see that Gertrude is at level 5. See, that's a problem, because those 2 levels are incompatible. So then you can say, well, get a copy of the book and go to Gertrude and see if she can work with you and renew the relationship, see? And he can he can do it. If he all he has to do is get the book, show it to her, get her to read it. It's if when she looks at it, she will have a realization, and he will have realizations, and then once they know the level, they can start moving themselves up. Sometimes
Wonderful.
it goes quickly, and sometimes it doesn't.
Go
As far
slow.
as moving yourself up, sometimes it's a slow process, and sometimes it's not, depending on
Yes.
the scale.
Yes. So, with everything we've been talking about so far, I believe the best thing is to get to your book and go through it to be able to apply Septemics in our daily life effectively. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay. So,
yes,
yes, okay. I had some questions I wanted to ask, but the story about Gertrude and her husband
yes.
having issues, I've already answered that question. And I wanted to ask, but the story you told, the illustration you gave about Gertrude and her husband has already answered the
Yes,
question. But I'm still
yes.
going to ask the question nonetheless. So the question is, if someone is feeling lost in life, lost or confused in life, how can Septemics help them gain clarity about where they are and what to do next?
That's exactly what it's for. Helping them gain clarity on their specific situation. Let
Yes.
me give you an example of how simple this is and why this works. I'm into gardening. And maybe you are into gardening too. So you say, Jim, come over and look at my garden. I say, okay. So I show up at your house, right? And I walk into your garden and I see that you have hydrangeas, irises, tulips, forget-me-nots, roses, begonias. Now, the reason I can analyze it that way is I know a lot about flowers because I've been in gardening since I was a boy. But if you bring some 5-year-old kid into that yard, the kid will see and smell exactly what I saw and smelled. But all he
Hello?
can say is, these are pretty and they smell nice. That's all he knows. Now, most adults are like that kid with people. They
Hello,
don't
Jim, are
know
you
what
there?
they're looking at
Oh my
because
God.
they don't have this system of analysis. So,
Nigerian network.
Friday night comes along, guy gets all dressed up in his best suit and he goes out to a nice bar to meet a young lady, right? So he sees this young lady, he buys her a drink and they're talking, right? And they're having a pleasant conversation. And he thinks to himself, boy, she's pretty and she smells nice. That's the same thing the little kid just said.
I don't think this is
There is
working.
no
Let's check.
analysis there. This guy has no idea what he's getting himself into. Now, if he had Septemics, he could see some things. He could spot her on some of these scales because people tell you their levels without even realizing it. They tell you their levels. So he might say, oh, she's at level 3 on the scale of basic purposes. That's pretty good. See? That tells him something about her. That's a certain type of person. As opposed to if she were at level 5 on that scale, that tells him something very different. That tells him, go away. This person is going to ruin your life. So that's how this works. It's just like you spot a flower, it's a tulip or it's a chrysanthemum, and whether it's a tulip or a chrysanthemum is a fact. It's not an opinion.
Okay. Yes.
Right. Okay. So let me give you an actual example from my life of how I use this. I'm
Yes.
a single guy. And so about a year ago, I met this gorgeous blonde. She
Wow.
looked like a movie star.
Crazy.
So we were very interested in one another. And so we're going through the usual getting to know you routine. What kind of movies do you like? What kind of restaurants do you go to? What kind of books do you read? We had a lot of conversations like that, which is normal at the
Yes.
beginning of a relationship, right? You're finding out about the person. You don't want to be too intrusive, you just want to be social. So we're having one of these conversations, oh, who's your favorite actor type thing. And I noticed she's low on a certain scale. I thought, okay, and I just made a mental note of it. So then later we had another conversation, similar type of a conversation. I noticed she's low on this other scale. Okay. And then we had another conversation, similar type of conversation, and I saw she's low on this other scale. Now the light bulb was going on over my head. Wait a minute. I barely know this person, and I've already figured out that she's at or near the bottom of the scale of 3 different scales. That probably means, because I know this material very well, she's
Yes.
probably going to be at or near the bottom of 8 or 10 or 12 scales.
Wow.
You see? Because this was like cursory. I wasn't even really looking. And so I said, okay, I'm not getting involved in this. So you have to realize we had no conflict. We had no arguments. We had no disagreements. Nothing unpleasant was said between us. It was all very nice. And the next time I saw her, I just said, you know, you're a very nice person, but pass. No thanks. She was
Yeah.
shocked. You know why she was shocked? She was so
Why?
gorgeous. I was probably the first guy who ever did that to her. We didn't have any
I can
argument or
imagine.
anything. I could just see, I could just see that she was at or near the bottom of many of these scales. This is not hard to figure out once you know what it is. It's just like looking at a chrysanthemum. Oh, this guy has chrysanthemums. You know what a chrysanthemum is and you spot it. That's it. It's a fact. So she was so shocked, she said to me, and I quote, "Who do you think you are?" I did not say to her the perfect answer, which is, I'm the guy who knows Septemics. So I'm not going to get into this. So that was the end of that. So think about this. Think about how much money I saved myself, all the dinners I didn't have to buy.
Yes.
Think about
Yes.
how much
Actually.
time I saved myself going out until I figured out this was going nowhere. Think about all the aggravation I saved myself, because when you get into a person who's at or near the bottom of the scale, that's going to be an aggravating person. You see?
Yes.
So I rescued myself from a bad situation, and then I just turned my attention to someone else. Now, 99% of guys would have jumped right in with both feet and had a train
De-
wreck,
definitely. Definitely.
as, as I have had in the past. You know, when I was a young man, I didn't have this material, I hadn't figured it out yet. But as a result of that, I made the same stupid mistakes that everybody else makes when I was young. Now, for me, that cannot happen, does not happen, will not happen. When it comes to
Definitely not.
people, I know what I'm looking at, I know what I'm dealing with, and once I'm dealing with the person, I know how to bring the person up to the next level.
The beautiful thing I love about your system, Septemics, is the fact that it saves me on emotional investment. It allows me to invest my emotions in the right people. And it allows me to know people that are ready for growth, people that want to actually, improve on their self, people that want to actually grow. Yes, yes, that's the beautiful thing I
Yes,
love about
yes.
this. Yeah, that's the beautiful
Yeah,
I
well,
love.
you
The
know,
beautiful.
yeah, it's people get depressed and anxious and frustrated and angry because they get emotionally involved in things
Yes,
that turn out to be negative things.
exactly.
Now think about this. More than 50% of the marriages in the United States end in divorce.
Wow.
Clearly, that couple who got divorced, they did not see what they were looking at. They did not understand who this person was. If they did, they either would have said no thanks and moved on, or they would have lived happily ever after. So this is a widespread problem that everybody has. Similarly, all over the world, if you look, you will see people routinely elect morons and criminals to run their governments.
That is one
Why is
predominant.
that?
It's one predominant thing about the human race. Essentially, it's honestly just crazy. Sometimes, even
They,
where I live, where I live, it's the most. In fact, the people in high positions, they don't even deserve to be there. You don't need to think twice to understand or to know it, and it's because of the fact that people don't make these assessments before they put these people in those positions. They're just like, I like him, so let him be there.
Right.
So
They don't make the assessment because they don't have these materials.
yes,
They don't have this system. And I'll tell you, when Obama ran for president, I had no idea who he was. He had only been in the Senate for 2 years. So the people in Illinois knew who he was because they sent him to the Senate. But the rest of us in 49 states had no idea who this guy was. So I thought, well, this guy's running for president. I better find out
who he
who
is,
this guy
yes,
is. I conducted a septemic analysis of him. It took several weeks listening to him, watching him, his body language, his speeches, the way he said things, the way he answered. And I was able to determine his basic purpose, which is the most important thing to know about a person. And that advised me as to whether or not I wanted to vote for him. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I figured out because that would be unethical and
yes,
counterproductive. You should
yes.
never tell anybody the level of any living person. People
Oh,
don't like to be evaluated.
uh,
Even if you know you're right, keep it to yourself.
no.
Let the person figure it out himself, because when he figures it out himself, he'll have a realization. He'll say, oh, now I see who this Obama guy is.
Yes,
He's blah, 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 blah. See? He has an
yes,
insight, which is what you want in life. You want to be insightful, right? So you meet some guy, he wants to win business with you, and you need to have an insight into who is this guy? Do I want to risk money on this guy? Can this
yeah,
guy?
exactly.
So if you analyze him against these 35 scales, you will understand him better than he understands himself.
Wow,
And you can
amazing.
make a judgment. Because you have to realize that there are different situations. And let me tell you what I mean. Let's say you're going out with a girl for 3 years, thinking about getting
Yes,
married, right?
yes,
Wouldn't it make sense to ask, why does this woman want to marry me? Doesn't that make sense?
definitely. Yes, yes, yeah, of course.
I'm not saying to ask the woman. Don't ask her. You don't know what you're going to get. Just open the book. There's only 7 choices. I've done the heavy lifting in getting it down to the 7 basic motivations of human beings. It's going to be one of those 7. Now, you already know her because you spent 3 years around her. Once you study, you're going to say, oh, I see. She wants to marry me because she loves me. That's level 1, the highest motivation of all. Let's set the date. But maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe what happens is, after you study this and you think about it, you say, I think she wants to marry me because I drive a Lamborghini, I have a 60-foot yacht, I fly my own Learjet, I live in a $15 million condo, and I have $10 million in the bank. That's a different motivation. That's level 4, money. Now, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. It's just what it is. Now, what you do with it is up to you. You might say, okay, this is not the first woman who wanted to marry me for my money, but this one is smart, pretty, educated, congenial, graceful, so I'm going to marry her anyway. And you might live happily ever after, knowing what her purpose is. So when she
Yes,
comes to you and says, honey, I want to go to Vegas for the weekend, you say, okay, here's $5,000, have a good time. See?
yeah,
And when she comes back, you get rewarded. Now, there are plenty of relationships like that. Plenty of old, fat, ugly guys married to beautiful young women. Okay? And
yes,
that's how it works. The young, beautiful woman, the beauty queen, she gets a diamond ring, a pearl necklace, a mink coat, a credit card, and a Corvette. And the guy gets to be married to a 23-year-old beauty queen.
exactly.
That's the deal for them. But you might not be that type of person. You might be the type of person who says, I do not want to marry somebody who wants to marry me for my money. I want to marry someone who loves me for myself. And so you break up with her. Don't think you're going to be upset about that. You're not. You'll be relieved. You'll say, thank you, Jim, for turning me on to this. I dodged a bullet.
Definitely, yes.
And then when you go forward to the next person, you're a little smarter, you have a better idea what to look for. Maybe you don't even mention your Lamborghini early in the relationship. See?
Yes.
So, so the thing is, when you spot a level, whether it's yours or another's, it's always a positive experience. Doesn't matter whether it's a higher level or a low level,
Okay.
because you have realizations. Let's say you spot that you're, let's say, level 6 on the scale of control. Oh, that explains why I act like this and this and this and this. And people get upset with me when I do A, B, and C because I'm at this level. See? You're having realizations. Your personality is clarifying, and it's going to be pretty easy for you to move up to level 5 because you had all that insight. And then
Yes.
on the subject of control, you're doing better, and you're not going to irritate people as much as you did.
Definitely, yes.
So this is very, very user-friendly. It's not hard to understand. I went out of my way to write this book in a way that would make sense to the average reader of English. And I know I succeeded at that because some version of this book has existed now for 30 years. And
Wow.
I have been watching people get this.
Wow.
People get this. You know, you don't have to be a college graduate to understand this. Some guy, this is what happens with this book. Guy goes into a bookstore, right? And he sees this thing, Septemics, on the shelf. He says, what the hell is this? He takes it down, he opens it up at random to one of the chapters. And he looks at it. And what he's going to say is, oh, this makes sense. You know why he's going to say that? It's natural law. Like the Pythagorean theorem, all Newton's
Yes.
3 laws of motion. They make sense because they're natural law. This has nothing to do with opinion. So if he studies it for a while and starts using it, then he's going to say, wow, this is big. This enables me to analyze everything about people, me and others both.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you, lots of people have told me that. Readers come to me to say, Jim, you covered everything.
Yes.
So there are 35 scales. I'll be happy to tell you the names of them, which would tell your viewers a lot about what's in the book.
Yes. So, Jim, this is my
Would you like
rapid
that?
fire. Yes, definitely. I would love that. Yes, of course.
You have to do that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So of the 35 scales, 24 are called individual scales and 11 are called group scales. These are the individual scales: the scale of basic purposes, the scale of personal influence, the scale of choice, the scale of permeation, the scale of thought, the scale of identity, the scale of evaluation, the scale of motivation, the scale of control, the scale of stopping, the scale of scholarship, the scale of literacy, the scale of human ability, the scale of memory, the scale of spiritual identity, the scale of mental deletion, the scale of aberration, the scale of physical fitness, the scale of belief, the scale of equanimity, the scale of attack, the scale of conflict, and the scale of reaction. And these are the group scales: the scale of relationships, the scale of life spheres, the scale of government, the scale of civilization, the scale of survival, the scale of management, the scale of exchange, the scale of communication, the scale of allegiance, the scale of sexuality, and the scale of politics. Believe me, any one of these scales by itself could dramatically improve your life.
Jim, you literally covered everything that has to do with human existence. That's basically everything that has to do with us existing on Earth, basically.
Yeah, it's not obvious from just reading the names of the scales that that's true, but when you actually study it, you'll see that this has ramifications. It has tentacles that go out. So like when you look at the scale of stopping, what the hell is that? And you find out that's a big thing that most people never even thought of, that controls your personality. Oh, that's why I can't stop smoking. See, I'm at this level on the scale of stopping. And if I move up to a higher level, I'll be able to stop. So that's something that could be a big change in your life.
Yes.
So when you study the materials, you see there's depth in this,
Wow. Wonderful.
and the book is
Wonderful.
very, very, very clear. There is a glossary not only in front of every chapter, even in front of the introduction. There's a
Oh
glossary.
wow.
So I'm telling
Wow.
you the
Wow. Beautiful.
exact definition of all the main words in the book. So
Okay.
there'll be no confusion.
Exactly. Jim, this has honestly been wonderful. This has been a very wonderful conversation. I have a set of rapid fire questions I want to ask you. You can
Thank
either
you.
answer with a sentence or a phrase. So the first rapid fire question is, do you think human behavior is predictable?
Do I think human behavior is predictable? Is
Yes.
that the question?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next one is the next
The subtitle of this book is Analysis, Prediction, and Management of Human Affairs.
oh wow.
This makes people very, very predictable.
Oh, beautiful. The next question is, can people move backwards on the septemic scale? Or is it always it's only forward that people can move?
Are you asking about moving up or down the scale?
Yes, can you move backwards on the scale? Can you move upwards on the scale? Only down? Can you move
Okay.
downwards on the scale or just upwards?
Yes. Well, you can move either direction. When you improve, you're going up the scale. When you decay or deteriorate, you're going down scale.
Okay.
And this
Okay.
happens, you have some friend of yours, and he's doing fine. And, he makes a lot of money, has a nice house, has a beautiful wife. His wife gets murdered. He becomes an alcoholic. Because he becomes an alcoholic, he loses his job. Because he loses his job, he loses his house. And you bump into this guy a year later, he's a homeless person out on the street begging for quarters. He went down many scales,
Scales.
not just one, 8 or 10 or 12 scales
Yes.
as a result of that situation.
Crazy.
That explains what happens to people.
I've been longing to ask this question. Do you think wisdom is the same as intelligence?
No,
Oh
they're
wow.
two completely different things.
Can you please expand on that?
Now, again, yes, yes, intelligence, it means the ability to learn. In other words, you could say it is a talent for learning. So that is some people have the talent to play hockey. Some people have the talent to sing. Some people have the talent to box. And some people have the talent to learn. That's what
Oh wow.
intelligence is. That is what we measure with IQ tests.
Yes, yes.
Now, wisdom is another thing altogether. We don't know what Jesus' IQ was, but we sure as hell know that he was full of wisdom.
Yes.
Okay? And that's true for many people. I mean, Gautama, do we know what his IQ was? No. But we know that he was a person of great wisdom. And this happens all the time. Sometimes you meet a person, it could be your grandfather, He's been around a while, he's got a lot of wisdom. He gives you good advice. He might not have a high IQ. So that's a very different thing.
Oh, beautiful. Then one other question.
Wisdom comes from the Latin word to see.
Oh,
It's
oh,
the ability to see.
let's see. Oh,
In other words, you
beautiful.
have vision.
Okay. One other question. The last rapid question basically. What is one question everyone should ask themselves?
How can Septemics help me achieve my goals faster and easier?
Oh wow, beautiful. And the way to do
Because it
that
will.
and the way to do
It
that is by
will.
getting the manual, the septemic manual basically.
Yeah, get the book. Because look, I went through a lot of trouble to make this book self-sufficient. Once you
Yes.
have the book, you don't need anything else. You don't need to buy a
Beautiful.
course. You don't need to spend any money. You don't need to hire a tutor. You don't need to hire a therapist. You don't need to go to a facilitator. You don't need to join a church, etc. It's just you and the book. Now, the
Beautiful.
only thing you might need is a dictionary, but I would say that for every book on earth. I've been
Basically.
tutoring since I was 14. I would never tutor
Wow.
anybody on anything without having a dictionary handy. But now everybody's
Yes.
got a dictionary in his phone.
Yes, definitely, yes.
So, if you're studying a book, you come to a word, you say, I'm not too sure what this means. Look it up. Then you go back and say, okay, I
Definitely.
got it now.
Okay.
Other than that, you don't need anything to do this.
Yes.
I
Beautiful.
spent 25 years writing this book
Wow.
to make it foolproof
Wow.
so
Wow.
that it would help
That's a long time.
anyone who could read English reasonably well and wanted to improve themselves or others.
So, Jim, this is our last question for the interview, and it's a question I
Mhm.
ask every guest on my podcast. You must have been to a lot of interview, being a master at Septemics. What is that one question no interviewer has ever asked you?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there is an infinitude of questions nobody has ever asked me. Uh, nobody has ever asked me, what's your mother's maiden name? Well, why would
Obviously.
they ask that? So there's like billions and billions and billions of things they never asked me. But there's a lot of sort of obvious things that they do ask me, and I always have an answer for it.
Okay. Jim, thank you so much for joining me on the Thought Out Loud podcast. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the way you broke down what Septemics is and how it can help us improve our lives on this earth. Jim, where can my audience, my listeners, find more about your work?
I invite your viewers to go to my website, which is septemics.com, Septemics, where you can see what many readers have said about it, what many journalists have written about it, what the reviews are. You can read sections of the book itself. And there's even a pre recorded audio called Introduction to Septemics that you can
Introduction to
listen to
Septemics.
that explains the subject in 15 minutes.
Oh, beautiful, Jim.
So that's what I recommend.
Jim, thank you so much for coming on the Thought Out Last podcast. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your expertise, and I'm definitely going to check out your book. I'm going to check out your website and hopefully be able to get a hold of your material and learn and improve on my life. The same goes for my listeners. I was very happy to have you on my platform, and thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Jim. It's been a beautiful time here on the podcast. If you know you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and like, and please check out James' website. He's really a master when it comes to human psychology and studying human beings as a whole and trying to understand them in order to know who to invest in, who not to invest in, to understand what skill you are on when it comes to Septemics, and of course, what places you need to improve on in your life. Thank you so much, Jim. I really hope that we're able to do this again some other time.
Thank you, Blessed. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself, Jim, and have a good day ahead.